You've shared
Okay.
before that you had never tasted wine when you first entered the industry. What gave you the courage to step into something so unfamiliar and then master it? So I just want you to just channel us along your journey, who you are, background you're coming from, and then you can just answer the first question I've given you.
Okay, so it wasn't really about getting into the industry. It was studying. Before studying the winemaking part of it, um, I had never tasted wine. So I had thought wine was ciders. That's what I thought was wine. The hunters and crossbows, and you know how we are in the village. That's what we know. So I thought, oh, that was wine. And when I came to Stellenbosch, but I accepted the scholarship really because I wanted to study. That was my key part. I wanted to study. So it could have been anything. And I knew I wanted to study. So when the opportunity came to study, I literally just took an opportunity and I was like, I'll learn, I'll do what I need to do. And so it was, for me, I look at that, it's a drive of wanting to change your life. And you see something that says to you, it's going to the direction of that. And you take an opportunity, you take a chance on it. And it's a blessing that obviously as time goes on, you realize, oh, really, this was a gift for me and I'm good at it. And I've managed to turn this into a career, make this, start a company and do all those things. And for a person who grew up eMahlabathini, KwaVutela, like that's home. I go home twice a year or 3 times sometimes because that's where I come from. That's where I get grounded. So it's been, I think it's been quite a journey.
Okay. The wine industry has been seen as exclusive and Eurocentric. What are the biggest cultural or systematic barriers you had to navigate? I'm asking this question because you see a lot of African entrepreneurs like DJs Boo advertising their brands like Mofai, not having enough resources or funding. Like for example, or the Red Bull, all these international energy drink brands, challenging,
Yeah.
competing with an African entrepreneur who has no funding, who have no what you call
Backup
resources.
money.
Yeah,
Yes, yes, yes.
backup, I should say. Um, and then you're coming along as a person who's in your time. I think it was, I don't know when was it you started your Aslina Wines brand. I want
2016.
to ask you, yeah,
Yeah.
what are the
What do,
challenges experienced? Yeah, challenges experienced in breaking those barriers.
so I think firstly, the key part for me was to break into the industry and make a wine. So, because after studying doesn't mean you're gonna get that, right? But then you study, you get a job, you work as a winemaker, and then you understand that the importance of building your name as a person, in the space, because I got to work for a small winery. I made their wine or as their winemaker, but my mindset knew that at some point I want to start my own company. So I've been talking to my nephew lately. I'm like asking, what is it? Because every day you need to do one thing that is taking you towards your future, that is helping you build your future. You can't say I'm going to put it up. Everything you do is helping you to navigate that space. So for me, before just getting into the industry, so I grew up in the village. Started by I got a job as a domestic worker in Durban. I could have said no, right? But I was like, no, I want that because I was moving from a village to the city, and cities are known to have opportunities, right? And when I was there, there's a lot of things I learned. I was watching TV because we didn't have TV at home. I was watching TV, there was so much English, and there were books. I was supposed to read books because the family I was with, like, I know the culture in this house, you read. I was reading books. That's my family now. So I was reading books and I started reading, I started getting excited about things. So that was moving from a village. And again, I think, they say when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. That came at the right time for me to go to Durban because I got to a family that said, we want, yes, we're hiring you to work, but we want you to learn, we want you to study, we want you to, you know. So it was that. And I was like, yes, yes, yes. And I remember Ubaba asked me, okay, where do you want to go? What do you want to study? I said I wanted to do chemical engineering. I had to apply at the university, at Technicon, in Mangosutu Technicon, because they were going to pay for me to do that. So I was going to do my chores in the morning and evening when I come back from school. So that was the plan. And all of a sudden, and then I got to apply for nursing. And I was tempted to take nursing because I was like, hey, I can at least assist my mom as early as possible. And my mother, in the family where I was working, and she was like, there are difficulties right now with nursing. I don't think you should do that. You know, and again, listening, because it is important to listen. I think one of the things we always walk the path, you think you know it all. Listening, I realized that everything has been happening because I listen. And when she said that, and I was like, okay, fine. And then I got this application to study at Stellenbosch University. And it was a no-brainer. And she said to me, I think take this because it's something that we don't know. 4 years goes by very fast. Because all my concern, I was like, but then if I go to university, how am I going to help my mom? How, I was looking at all that. And then she was like, 4 years goes fast. And I listened. And I was okay and accepted, took the scholarship. And then I came to Stellenbosch and started winemaking. There were all those difficulties, obviously, cultural differences, language barriers, because I wasn't speaking Afrikaans, but we were having classes in Afrikaans. And there were all those things. And even though there was that, I had to learn how to navigate that space. Fast forward, I graduated. Also, I think, I'm going to keep on reflecting back on some of the things. While I was a student, I worked part-time and I managed actually to assist my mom because whatever I was earning over a weekend, it was what she was earning in a month. As a student in Stellenbosch, what I was earning on a weekend, it was what she was earning over a month, which I was earning about 280 Rand a weekend. So I was like, Mom, you can stop working. I'll take care of you. Because now my weekend money is her salary. So, so there was that. And so fast forward, graduated, started working as a winemaker. So building myself as a winemaker, as I said earlier, it's knowing that I wanted to start my own business. So everything I was doing, it was working towards that, right? And so I worked and I did my harvest in France. I did my harvest in Italy. There was no job that wasn't mine. Problem number one, we get stuck on titles. A title is just a title. There's a book I read. It said a leader who had no title. I'm not sure if it says like by is it Robin? Can't remember.
Robin
Sharma. Yes, a leader who had no title, which means if you are sweeping the floor, you must sweep it to the best of your ability, give it your all, and do. And so a leader, really, I had to, like, if someone needed tea, I was working at the tasting room. I needed to clean. I do that. I threw myself in every angle of the business in the job I was employed for as a winemaker. And I remember this one time, our our account person left the company, left us hanging basically. And I said to her, okay, you fought with my boss, not with me. Can you teach me over the phone how to do invoices? I didn't say, oh, well, she's gone. It's not my job. I'm my winemaker. So I was like, and she taught me over the phone and I made invoices. I was like, I'm making the wine. It needs to get to my clients, period. That I know. And she taught me how to make invoices. I started making invoices and I was making sure the wine was delivered. We had a driver who was doing deliveries, but when the driver is not there, I was driving, going to deliver the wine. So it's going over and above what is being put in front of you. Do as much as you can. And all those things, they taught me how to run a business. That's how I learned I learned my boss there was like, it's like basically you've got a boss, but all you do, you just report the status of where you are. Taking initiative, lead. And my wine started getting medals. Also, I was like getting medals. Basically, my brand is a winemaker in the industry, getting known. So I went and did my harvest in France, Italy. I collaborated with an American winemaker, and when I done both of those, I went back to France again to consult for one of the wineries. That is one thing again. So they were taking a winemaker from each country to come and make a specific wine with them, and they'll distribute that wine all over the world. It get branded with a picture of the winemaker and the flag. I had to be part of that. This is the person from eMahlabathini, KwaZulu-Natal, in the world. So all those things helped me to actually, when I got to start my own business, I knew how to bootstrap because I was working for a company that was, again, you see, we think that, I think this is the other part. We think that every white person has a company, they've got money. My boss didn't have money. So working in his company taught me how to work with nothing. It taught me how to work with nothing and build. So that's what I learned from him. He had brilliant ideas. And then sometimes he'll say these ideas and we'll look, we don't have money. So it was that. I learned a lot from the company. So when I started Aslina, I'm starting a company. I'm naming my company after my grandmother because she's the one who took care of me. She was everything. She was love in its totality. I think most people, if not all, relate to what having a grandmother means. And so that was that. And when I started my company, I remember I was like, okay, money is going to be an issue. That's a given, but we're going to make money. This is a joke that is it the Ugandan Minister of Finance who say, at colleagues, money is coming. So now, I was like, money will come. But I think that's the attitude I had with my work, to say, build yourself, then the salary will increase later. It will, but not when you're starting and expect this big money to happen, because it doesn't work like that. It just doesn't work like that. So same with starting a business. You're starting with little and try find ways of how you can pivot with no money to make something. Like now, globally, as the wine industry, we're going through financial crisis, if I were to call it that way, because the sales are not good. Everyone, but it calls to say, let's cut on certain things and not do them. But one thing we cannot cut, so we had to lower our production, lower this, lower that. But one thing we can't cut is marketing and sales. That's what we need to push more to build. So it's, yeah. Sorry, I know I've diverted. I can't remember what was the question.
No, you touched on very good points. But there's one question I want to ask, because you're talking about certain barriers you went through, right? As an entrepreneur, African entrepreneur. So this question is definitely going to resonate with what I'm going to ask you right now. You've grown an international customer base. How do you balance global standards with local authenticity? I'm asking this question because you see your Black Coffee, Trevor Noah demanding higher fees. As like in America, they get paid higher fees. Whereas here, they get disrespected, right? The people who book them in these events for comedy shows or clubs and stuff like that, they request them with lower fees compared to when they're overseas, where they're mostly respected. I want to ask this question in terms of them building their local brands right here. So they're South African entrepreneurs in America. So they have to take that culture and actually plug it in to all those, yeah, to remain like local, to remain authentic. That's what I'm trying to say, to remain authentic, whilst at the same time they're being disrespected in their hometown. You get what I'm saying?
That,
And yeah.
I wouldn't put it as being disrespected though for them. But anyways, let me not talk about. So you touched the word authenticity, being authentic. What does that mean in terms of individual people? You need to stay grounded, true to yourself, right? So it does not matter where you are. You are yourself. Because what happens is if you change who you are when you are at a certain place, that means you are not being authentic at all. So what the story I tell in South Africa, the story I tell when I'm overseas, everybody relates to the story of a grandmother. Everybody relates to a story of a woman running a business. Most people, let me not say everybody, most people relate to who I am as a person. They relate to, if they don't, basically for them it's a lesson. Because there's that you're teaching people of your culture, you're exposing people of who you are, you're exposing people to a different kind of life. We're selling wine, so the standard is the same. What I'm selling locally is what I'm selling overseas. Same bottle, same label, same everything. It goes out exactly the same. The only thing that differs with our label is that the American label has to have a government warning that is different from ours. They have their own government warning, while our government warning is different. That is all. So everything goes out exactly the same. So one of the things for me that are important is that when it comes to a standard, you need South Africa, we love good standard too. We are global. It's just that because the world look at us and say we are like a third world, what and what not. But actually, we have a global standard in everything we do. We have a global, I think as I'm going to say young entrepreneurs should be saying, when I'm giving you a service, I mustn't give you a service because you are my neighbor. I'm like, oh yeah, you know, if I serve somebody with a tray, I must serve you with a tray, right? So it's just making a norm to say, if I'm serving you, I must serve you like I serve the other person. So it's that. So in terms of standards, yeah.
What is the toughest business lesson you learned? I was watching John Rupert's interview. I think it was 8 years back, or 11 years back. It was asked by Sunday Times. So they're asking him, "What is the toughest business lesson you learned?" And he replies and says, "Culture beats PowerPoints any time of the day." So what he means by that, he says, you must set the culture at the top, at the head office first, and then that's when you build loyalty, right? I mean, teamwork. So strategy teamwork builds PowerPoint. So you cannot work alone. So that's what he's trying to amplify on his talk there. And he goes on and says, loyalty comes first. I want to hear your toughest business lesson you learned in you building your Aslina Wines brand.
So when I was starting the company, I had to ask there are two lessons that people are asked them. I went to, remember, I spoke to Ken Forrest. I said to him, listen, I'm starting my own brand. What is one lesson you can teach me? Just one. And he said, never allow anybody to tell you what your value is. And that works because I'm selling wine. I'm going to tell people what the price is, and they want to tell you what the price they think it should be. And the other one said, that was Anthony from Hamilton Russells. He said, go wherever your wine goes, which means I needed to travel and sell my wines. I need to follow the bottle where it's going so that I can connect with the people at the end, build those relationships, build those customer base. And those are lessons I was told. And what I learned in that is that actually it has helped me in a sense that I remember one of my first customers was like, people are not going to buy this wine. It's expensive. This is, I think your price is too high. I was like, no, it's fine. I'll get another importer. At that time, there was no other that I was looking at. But it was because I've been told that when you allow people to tell you what your value is, they're basically telling you, whether it's your product that you're selling, they're telling you what it costs. They're telling you what your value is as a person. You're not valuable enough. You're not, So that's what I learned. But also in my experience now, because I experienced that part, but also in my experience, I realized that running a business, it's got lots of intricacies in between. I've got employees who are my colleagues, but I think it has been, at the beginning of it has been tough to, when you get a resignation here and you need to do a new recruitment there. And so it has been, those moments like, and it said to me, actually, understand that you are building. So as you build, things change. And so as things change, the people working with, they're going to change too. And that you need to accept.
And just closing off, one last question I have: if you could use a time machine and go back to your 20-year-old Ntsiki Biyela, what would you tell her today? If you could just tweak a few things, will there be something you could change or?
I wouldn't change anything on my path. I definitely wouldn't, because everything I did from childhood, I reflect nowadays and I'm like, oh my word, it was preparing me for this. Everything I learned, ngangelusa. And I realized that was preparing me to work in the industry that we say it's male dominated. And so I wouldn't change anything from my childhood.
Thank you so much. It was an honor to have you on the platform today.
Thank you. I hope I answered your questions the way you wanted.